Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today I am trying to find the answer to a mystery that's been bugging me for a few weeks. In our local community, we've had a bit of a spread of something new, and we didn't see it coming, but we're really grateful it's here, and that would be L4 Chronicles, the skirmish fantasy wargame from Freecompany. Kind of want to find out how it spread so fast through our community. We've gone from like 4 players to well over 20 in a matter of weeks. So how has that happened and why? I figured the best way to find out was to speak to the person responsible, or one of them. To that end, I am joined by Samo, also known as BubaloSoldier, the Chief of Game Development from Freecompany, to discuss the system. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for taking the time out. I can imagine you guys are pretty busy at the moment.
We are, yeah. With the global logistics being what they are, things are stressful, to say the least. But we've got a handle on it. Luckily, we are in a position to tackle the problems head on. We have some workable solutions for us.
Okay.
Sadly, not all of our colleagues are in the same spot, so we have to be grateful for that. Yeah,
we are certainly living in interesting times, and I want to come back to that logistics stuff in a bit, because I know that a lot of the community are having concerns, understandable, and worries about that. So I want to cover that one in a minute. But before we get there, can you tell me specifically who you are and what you do at Freecompany?
Yes, of course. I am Samo. I love coffee, I love history, and I love board games. I learned how to play Magic the Gathering when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
I learned English by reading a Warhammer 40k rulebook when I was 12 with a dictionary. It took me a year, but I did. And things went downhill from there. I play every board game I can find in an as competitive a setting as I can. I love competing in board games, but I also love telling stories. Telling stories through getting together with friends, creating a narrative through dice rolls, through imagination. I love everything from tabletop RPGs to complete casual board games to the most complicated war games you can find on the market. I love them all. And what that brought me to do in Freecompany is I am the person who is responsible for developing most of the mechanics and the rules of the game. I am also in charge of all the balancing decisions to make sure that everything is on the level. I am also responsible for the competitive rules, for organized play, not just player versus player competitive systems, but also the PvE part. And I am sort of the community engagement guy, among many other things. We are a team of 4, and we each carry many a hat in the company.
I can imagine.
So yeah, those are just some of my most notable responsibilities.
I see. So what you're saying is that Sand Kingdoms was your fault?
Sand Kingdoms is 100% my fault, though there is a thing that most of the Sand Kingdoms, at least the original 4, were developed before I was brought on.
Okay. So not entirely your fault.
I will say that. Not entirely my fault, but it is my fault to show the world the light of how to use them.
I seem to be surrounded by a lot of Sand Kingdoms players. As a Soga player, it's kind of like they're doing the magic and I'm trying to poke them, which I'm quite good at. But yeah, anyway, we'll come back to those. So
yeah,
that's what you do. But for those who aren't familiar, what is L4 Chronicles? Can you explain it in 30 seconds or less-ish?
Yes, I can. Eldfall Chronicles is a fantasy skirmish war game. But it's a fantasy skirmish war game that focuses on a small team of models, so 3 to 4 to 5 models per side, very fast-paced, very maneuvering heavy game. So a lot of movement, a lot of back and forth. And it keeps both players engaged through the entire game. And the goal is to have the game done in about an hour. So extremely fast, but still with many deep tactical decisions.
Yeah. I have to say that's one of the things that impressed me when I played my first game. I'm used to a first game with a war game being nose in book, 3 or 4 hours of confusion with occasional dice rolls. I think even in our first game we were done in about 90 minutes, and that was with lots of how does this work? What does this do? What does that mean? It's a system that, because of the scale, flows really well and flows really quickly. It's just phenomenal. It's so nice to be, because we have gaming evenings in our local community, and it's nice to be able to have a system where we can kind of go, right, I'm going to play you, and then I'm going to play you tonight.
Yes.
You know, it's definitely
that was one of the design goals. Yes.
Okay.
That was absolutely one of the design goals, to have a game where people can come after work, 5, 6 p.m. and play a couple of games easily without pushing it till 11 p.m., etc. So that was one of the goals for the game when we set out to design it.
Okay. So that was one of the motivations. How did Eldfall Chronicles come into being, and what were the motivations and the goals beyond just being done within an hour?
We wanted a fantasy skirmish game. We were all very passionate Infinity players, and we played many other war games as well, not just Infinity. But one thing that we consistently through the history found a lack of is a proper living, breathing fantasy setting where you could play skirmish games. There was a brief time around 2010s, a bit before, I think, where alchemy sort of filled that niche. I don't know if anyone remembers Alchemy, the war game from Kraken Editions from France. I love that game to bits. But we really missed that fantasy, living fantasy setting. So that was one of the core ideas behind what we want. But that was the initial idea. And that idea was, we mulled it over for over 7 years until COVID hit. And we suddenly found ourselves with a lot of time on our hands. And we sat down and we decided, what do we actually want to do? Should we actually go? And we crystallized that idea of a living, breathing fantasy world a bit more into a MMORPG inspired fantasy set. So we decided we want MMORPGs to be a really big influence on our game, not just aesthetically, but also in the feel of the game. So that's where small parties came along. It also coincided with the fast pace of the game. We knew we wanted one of the core tenets of the game to be the players are consistently engaged. And the game is really centered around mobility and positioning. Positioning is extremely important in the game, and it was a core development tenet from day one. And when we sat down, got those mapped out, we set out to write the rules into the first Kickstarter, and the rest is history. That is sort of the motivation behind the game.
Yeah, and like you say, movement is crucial. That's something that I've noticed in my games, is positioning and the dynamism on the board can win or lose you the game. If you're, I had a very good friend, much as I complain about Sand Kingdoms, I had a very good friend of mine who left a beautiful path open to their main caster in Sand Kingdoms for my Onataushi, who quite happily used that space to just, and yeah, that was that game.
Yes.
glorious. But that movement is really crucial within the game. Yeah, I've noticed Kickstarter's very much been a thing from the initial launch as well, hasn't it? All the way up to current Northwind, yeah? Is that a strategy that you see continuing?
Partially, yes. So Kickstarter is an amazing tool for us as a tiny little creator in a hidden away corner of Europe, where it's really hard to spread our game. Like, I don't know how much you know about Slovenia, but Slovenia is 2 million people population. We have 2 million native speakers. It's not a market we can sell to.
Yeah.
So Kickstarter allows us first to reach international markets from day one. And secondly, it allows us to establish a creative cycle from scratch without previous investment.
Yeah.
That's what we managed to do. Going forward, we will have straight to retail releases, but bigger flagship projects like Northwind will still go through crowdfunding, because those take a lot of resources on our part, and it also allows us to have a marketing platform for those from get-go.
Yes, the more we buy your stuff, the less Kickstarter we'll see, basically. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, essentially, yes.
I can understand that. We're working on it. We're doing our bit. Has to be said. One of the other great things about Eldfall is that there are 3 ways to play. You have the solo, the co-op, and the competitive. That's quite a bold thing to do on a brand new system pretty much from day one. Is not just to have one way to play, but to put 3 distinct but connected ways to play on launch. Why do all 3 on day one? Why go for all the beans to start off with?
To be honest, main reason, COVID lockdown. The game was born during the COVID lockdown, and we saw that solo and co-op is the future. Second is, I think, while player versus player has potential of good storytelling, nothing beats storytelling potential of a co-op game or solo game where I can tell my own story 3 nights in the week, just putting something on the table and telling my own story. And we love storytelling. So we saw that is really important. And one of the trends we recognized early on in the miniature wargaming in general, I think, is the rise of cooperative play. I think more and more games are getting involved with cooperative play, and more players are asking for cooperative play because it is a lower stress environment than player versus player. Yep. Not everybody enjoys the competition. Not everybody enjoys the stress. And the cooperative system still offers a deep tactical challenge, but one you can tackle with your friend instead of tackling your friend as the tactical challenge. So that's another reason why we did it. And the third reason is our game is complicated. I'm not gonna beat around the bush when it comes to that. Our game is pretty complicated, and it has a very high learning curve. And a way you can teach our game to somebody to lower that learning curve is to teach it through cooperative play. Because if I put down models against somebody and tell him, I'm going to teach you this game, and your objective is to beat you, your source of all the information about the game, that puts a lot of stress on a new player.
Yeah.
While if I put down the models and say, okay, I'm going to teach you the game, and our goal is to beat this monster in the middle of the table, and we are doing it together, it opens up the learning player to ask questions, ask for tactical advice. It de-stresses the teaching player so they can freely share all the information and there's no feel bads about it.
Yeah.
So teaching through cooperative play is also something that we considered very important for our game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very unique way of looking at that, actually. We're working through the way that we're going to be demoing and introing the game, and co-op is certainly something that I was looking at, because, as you say, it removes that feeling of when you say to new players for whatever system, right, I'm happy to give you a demo, the first thing that goes across their face is, you're a veteran and I'm going to get smashed. And even like, I don't do that, never have done that, always happy to just kid gloves, pull my punches, and just give somebody a good experience, because that's important, to show the system rather than beat someone. But sometimes the dice are just like, no, you're going to smash them and there's nothing you can do about it. If what we're smashing is the big monster in the middle, you remove that fear straight away, and I think that's a really intelligent way forward. So with that, these 3 ways to play are going to remain central to L4 Chronicles for the foreseeable future. Then this is a core feature.
Yes, this is a core feature, and we have plans to develop each and every one of them.
Awesome. So does that, with those, are you looking at doing narrative events and quests in the future? Are you looking at putting stories together, official ones, or?
Absolutely, yes. And we have something extremely exciting that is coming rather sooner rather than later. Especially about player versus environment, so cooperative play. Yeah, I think I'm gonna at least tease it a bit. We are preparing the same way we're preparing competitive rules document that should be online by May. We are also preparing seasonal adventure board, let's put it that way.
Ooh.
Unique cooperative play quests written for a certain period of time, where guilds, so guild masters with their communities, can try those unique scenarios and try to perform as well as they can within them. And we track scores internally and then crown the kings and queens of certain scenarios. And we're gonna track quality of how well you performed, as well as quantity. How many times did you attempt certain quests? So this will allow us to breathe life into the setting a bit more, because it will be always scenarios that are happening within our world. So let's say there will be a quest where you are tasked to gather mana blooms that are blooming at the bottom of deep pools within an oasis in the Sand Kingdom's area. So this tells you there are mana blooms that are guarded by water elementals. Alchemists are paying for those mana blooms, and you as a team are tasked to go and gather as many as you can and get out alive. So it allows us to build the world by engaging the community as a whole through these unique quests that we are writing and changing up. As well, it allows us to build up a repertoire of PvE quests, a large backlog for people to get their own ideas and build their own quests.
Yeah.
So yes, there's absolute. So for starter, it's this.
Okay.
And this might even evolve into something bigger, something that tracks over a longer period of time, that actually moves the story itself forward. But we're starting small and we're building towards it.
Okay. So at this point, if you listen closely, you can hear the hype train leaving the station at this point, but there is no sort of timeline for this yet, or is that this year, next 18 months, or?
For the bounty quest, for the adventure quests?
Yeah.
Months. We are talking within 1 to 2 months.
Okay, good stuff. So by summer, guys, you heard it here first. Awesome.
Yes.
Now's good. If you want to drop that now, that would be brilliant. We could use that. Anyway, okay, that's cool. Thank you. That's completely thrown me out because my brain now is thinking about all the different things we can do to get the community here hooked in and playing, and exactly how hard Soga is going to win that, because I have full confidence that we're going to rock it. Just putting that one out there. So, moving away from the narrative stuff for a moment, we're just entering the first season of competitive play tournaments.
Yes.
Are we going to be looking at doing a global reporting system for that and ranking and the competitive side too?
Yes, we are. However, due to our current limitations, we're going to be using Longshanks for that for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
The guys at Longshanks are amazing. They helped us get set up. It's very easy and intuitive to use. I really recommend anyone running events for Eldfall Chronicles to just use Longshanks. It's fast, it's easy, it's effective.
And if it's approved?
It's approved, and we have that way. It gives us a centralized database for all the results. So,
okay, I'm not familiar with Longshanks myself, but would that allow like list submissions and stuff like that people are bringing?
Yes. Longshanks allows list submissions, round by round scoring. It allows tournament organizers to modify their tournaments in many a way. The official settings for tournaments are already input. So when you create a Eldfall tournament, the official, let's say, tiebreakers, etc., is already gonna be put in. But you can always change that in as a tournament organizer. As we said, our competitive rule set is guidelines of how we envision things to be, but it's in the end always down to the tournament organizer and their discretion of what they want to do with the tournament.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And will you be using the data from Longshanks to inform balance, design decisions, and that kind of thing, or is that not planned?
We will be using any and all data we can get our hands on to inform our balance decisions. Let's be honest. Balancing is basically working through data.
Yeah.
And getting as much data as I can possibly get, be it any source, I will be happy to take it and use it. It will never be the only source of data, and balancing decisions will never be done on only one data point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's absolutely something that I will factor in if certain trends emerge throughout the tournament scene and after tournaments are getting played. So, yeah.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear that you won't be using it as the sole source of data. I think, obviously, I spend a lot of time in the wargaming world, and it can be frustrating to see where certain game manufacturers use purely their competitive scene to inform design decisions and balancing, and that can lead to a complete sort of overreaction or overcorrection in certain directions. So the fact that will be a data point, but not the data points, is really promising for the future from my perspective. So awesome stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about Northwind, the dungeon crawler, because that's arriving soon and that sort of connects with the skirmish game. How does this work?
Yes. So Northwind is we like to call it standalone expansion of the skirmish war. If you buy the Northwind as a box, it is a complete boxed board game where you can have a cooperative narrative campaign that tells a story of four heroes racing against Doomsday to reach the top of the mountain and stop a calamity. But when you take that box and put it into the context of the skirmish war game, it expands the skirmish game by a lot. Each of the heroes works for one of the core 4 factions as a leader. Also, will see the first ever neutral leader, as well as we're introducing 2 entire new factions through the Northern Wind. So Onis and Goblins each are their own unique full faction, playable faction in Skirmish, as well as every single model within the box gets an AI behavior card and an AI level. So you can use all of them in cooperative and PvE play as well. So yeah, that too.
You guys just like to overachieve, don't you? It's kind of, we're going to do all the different game types. We're going to bring out this box with just 2 new factions, just an extra 50% more factions in one go.
We have big plans. Let's put it that way. We have big plans, and this even is slightly pulled back from the original ideas because we just couldn't get there.
Dear God.
Yes. So we would like to have Eldfall Chronicles world as a living, breathing system of games. So Northern Wind, while telling a singular story within the world, we wanted to also have impact on the skirmish, on the Eldfall Chronicles skirmish game as well. Mm-hmm. And that is why we're introducing the 2 new factions, why we're adding models to the existing model range, etc.
Okay. So the cards for L4 Chronicles, are they going to be in Northern Wind, or are they going to be separate, or?
They are in the box for all the models that come in the box.
Okay. So awesome. That's a nice touch. That is a very nice touch indeed. Okay. And this is going to take us back to what you were talking about at the start here, with logistics. What's the current status on the arrival of Northern Wind? Because it's been impacted by a certain individual in America.
Yeah, so we had logistics mainly done and mapped out already when the tariffs hit, and we had to abandon a large percentage of our logistical plan outright, find new solutions, because we are not okay with simply moving the full tariffs on our end consumer.
Yeah.
That is not an acceptable solution to us, so we had to find a different plan. I have to say, I think we found a way to avoid that, to minimize that cost for our end consumer in the US. However, that has postponed the shipping plans for a while. While the delay is not big, mm-hmm. There is a delay in overall shipping because we can't tackle it as individual parts. We need to tackle it as a whole.
Okay. So the product isn't coming from the US, but because it is going to the US, it's going to have an impact on the whole logistical structure, basically.
Exactly. Because we had things like Canada, South America being shipped through the US, a large enough portion of our shipping plans had to change. Gotcha. Which means we have to reconfirm with all of our contractors, and even the contractors themselves, even if they were just shipping from China to Slovenia to EU, mm-hmm. A lot of their business itself still was shipping to US, and their plans for that, different things changed. So their timelines and conditions for things that are not related with US change as well because of that. Because global logistics by itself is impacted by this. Okay. I think I can safely say that most of the world should expect Northern Wind sometime in June.
Okay.
I think that is a pretty safe assumption for the Kickstarter.
So it's been pushed back by a couple of months effectively. That's 6 weeks, 2 months is kind of where we're looking at. It's crazy.
Yes,
It's
there are.
crazy that they've done that. That's so frustrating. That must have been a lot of stress for you guys to suddenly everything's sorted, it's done. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it's been impressive from what I've seen within the community. The communication's been pretty good, but also you've reacted really fast to resolve the issue without letting the community get stressed with what's happening, you know?
Yeah, I think clear communication, even especially when you're communicating bad news, I think clear communication is best way you can handle any situation. So that's what we did, and yeah, we got around the clock, and the first week was nightmare because we started making a plan, and the tariffs went from 54% to 104% in the next 3 days. And then tariffs from Europe were suspended, and de minimis was discontinued. Like things were changing on a daily basis, and creating plans for something that will sit on a ship for 3 weeks, and we can't once it's on the ship, it's done. We can't change anything.
Yeah.
But if things change within those 3 weeks, we can't impact that at all, and we just need to eat the changes. So it's extremely difficult to find a plan that is resistant to the change while things are on the water.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem.
I think from what I understand, a lot of the changes the US are bringing in, if it's on the water, it applies the version of the tariffs that happened when they left, I think. But you invariably know more about that stuff than I do, and probably wish you didn't, to be honest. Yeah,
Yes.
You've seen some stuff. I can see it now.
Mm-hmm.
But no. Going back to what you said about communicating bad news quickly and concisely, it's something that I wish more companies and more people would learn, because in this type of situation, it's clear that what's going on the global stage is going to have an impact, and not turning around and going, right, there's a problem, we're on it, leaves uncertainty with the stress, rather than just,
Yes.
this isn't
Yeah.
good, what's going to happen, we don't know, but we're on it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a much more positive way to be. It's, again, to your company's credit, that's definitely a habit we want you to keep, because brilliant. This is happy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, all four of us are experienced gamers. We went through many communication failure from various different companies. We learned from their mistakes and don't want to repeat them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It shows, actually, it's something that's worth mentioning. It shows in the rules that you are gamers yourself, because there's so many points in the rules that the quality of life has been considered. Like the fact that there are 3 levels of measuring in the game. You can completely pre-measure, you can sort of pre-measure, and nope, we're doing this hardcore. And reading that in there was so nice, because especially when you're teaching new players. I'm in Europe. Most of my associates only use inches when they're at the wargaming table. That's the only time they do.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're just coming in, I've got some people that are coming in from board games. They have not used inches bluntly. They know the concept, but if you say, right, 8 inches, not a clue.
Yeah.
So having the option within the rules to say, it's fine, just get it out and measure, it takes away that stress straight away. And that really, from my perspective, showed that you guys are wargamers who've been in that situation and been like, well, that's dumb, I'm not allowed to do that, that's not fun. So yeah, it's good. We're impressed. We're happy. Okay, so by June, most people should have Northwind. Awesome news.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Obviously, we can't say what himself is going to do over in the US to screw it up next, but based on things as they stand at the moment, that's good.
June is looking very likely.
Yeah. A provisional penciled-in date is better than nothing. So that's good news. That is good news. I hope everyone's happy with that and gives you a big clap for that one, because they should. let's move on to more fun stuff. So, Northwind. We have 2 new factions because you can, dropping in. Is this a one and done, or is it going to be expanded later, or what's the plan for it?
For Northwind itself, we are not completely sure on it, but we are considering 2 small sort of expansions to it. But they're more like peripheral things. Okay. One of the expansions that we're planning on doing or considering doing is a true solo experience. Because at the moment, the solo play for Northwind is me playing all 4 heroes.
Okay.
And to some, that might be a bit overwhelming. So we are considering how to create a true solo mode where you're playing only one model, but still tackling the entire story. Okay. So that's one thing. Another thing that we are considering is like a small build your own story module. Okay. Something to help people create their own scenarios and tell their own stories on the same mountain where things are happening. So it's sort of just like expanding the space in which Northwind can live, or expanding the number of ways you can enjoy Northwind. This is what we're considering for Northwind. But when it comes to an overarching big picture, yeah, this is first of our many, many chronicles that we want to tell over the years. So it's just the beginning.
Okay. I think it's interesting that you're looking at bringing a module where people can create their own adventure effectively. Empowering players to extend the adventure is a really great way of not only just getting value, but there is something around L4 Chronicles that is a TTRPG. It's a tabletop roleplay game. You can see D&D peeking around the edges. And if you're going to start building that DNA out further with the ability to create your own adventure, I think it's going to draw in the RPG players who've been sat on the fence, like the idea of the miniatures, use the miniatures in their games, but aren't quite ready to take the board game on. This is kind of bridging that divide. So,
yeah,
good call. You guys almost look like you know what you're doing. Very strange for the wargaming industry.
Yeah, it's like we play a lot of games and see what we like and take inspiration and
yeah,
go to games and see what's missing and wish we would have that. And we're like, wait a minute, we have our own game. We can do that.
We have the toys. Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
So aside from those small bits that you've said already, what does the future hold for the L4 universe? Are we seeing, aside from Northwind, are we going to see new games in the near future? Are we going to see any new factions? What does the game look like in 5 years' time, I guess? Where do you see it going?
So I'll tackle this question in a couple of facets. First off, a thing we haven't really discussed yet, but it's becoming relevant now, is the game is Eldfall Chronicles as a skirmish game is going to have 2 types of factions. It's going to have the main factions, and it's going to have a side factions or mini factions. Main factions are main factions for lore reasons, and that is because they control territories, and in some cases, vast amounts of territories. So we see the 4 core factions as the first 4 main factions that our game has. And we see with Northwind the introduction of the first 2 sort of side, don't want to say side, it's like a minor faction. Okay. Factions that in lore don't control big territories, that don't have access to vast resources, and are thus not as varied. Main factions are going to be factions that are large, that have many options, but the minor factions is where we're really going to push the design space on unique archetypes and unique mechanics that we want in the game. So less choices, but more unique game style options is sort of design space for minor factions. Let's put it that.
Yeah, I've noticed that with what you guys have been talking about with the Oni, how they smaller volume of miniatures, but larger volume of activations per miniature.
Yes.
Which is an intriguing way forward. And also those Oni miniatures are devastatingly gorgeous. It has to be said.
We are really happy with how they came out. And it really shows that half of our teams are schooled Japanologists, and they both speak Japanese fluently. They spent a year in Japan, and it really shows in the design of the Japanese-inspired factions in our game. And Oni are definitely something that reflects the Japanese culture as a whole. So coming back to the factions, in 5 years, I don't know if we can get there in 5 years, but the idea is we have 5 more major factions that we might want to introduce at certain points.
Blimey, okay.
I don't want to say any more about it, where they are, what they do. I'll leave that up to the people to discover. Okay. And of course, we have several other minor factions as well that we would like to introduce through various means, be it other cooperative play experience or big narrative launches, etc., etc. So,
okay,
yeah,
I'm going to need to clear some cupboard space. Got miniatures to store. Okay, so that's where we're going with the factions. What about with, and obviously this is all subject to change. I understand that, so we're not going to hold you to it or to cast this in stone. But what kind of changes do you see? What kind of expansions do you see? Obviously, we've got the narrative stuff. Are we going to see books coming out, like expansion rules and lore, or what's the plan?
Lore, I think we're gonna tackle more through cooperation with the player base. So we are looking at creating narrative events and building out the narrative by engaging players, as I said before, as well as a couple of more in detail, like lore articles that we're going to write on our part to flesh out the world. Behind the scenes, Eldfall Chronicle universe is a very detailed universe, but we didn't have the platform yet to show that. The first big platform to show you the detail we have baked into the world is the Northern Wind. The Northern Wind tells you a lot about how the world works, how important funeral rites are in the world, what different religions within the Soga Empire exist, what are their backgrounds, what are their rituals, how the feudal system within Soga works is explained in some parts of it as well. So you have the workings of the world baked into the scenario.
Yeah.
So we are slowly building up the platforms where we can share this lore with the world. And we're definitely looking to do that more in the future. Even by some standalone articles. And at certain point, we are looking at lore/art books. But that at the moment is more, I'm not going to say more of a dream than not, but it's a dream, a goal we're trying to achieve, but it's currently still out of reach for us.
Yeah, it's down the line.
Regarding our size. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get that. It's one of those things is, if you ask the player base, what do we want? All of it now or tomorrow would be okay, I suppose. But from your perspective, there's the practicality of being a team of 4, only so many hours in the day, only so many brain cells in your head. I can imagine it's completely overwhelming sometimes, especially because the community, while understanding, is incredibly enthusiastic from what I've seen. Hanging out in the Discord, there's a lot of very happy and hyped
Mhm.
people, and that's they're going to want all the stuff. So okay.
Yes.
And with games, so that's lore, that's factions. What about with the games? Are you looking at doing more Northern Wind type episodes? Is that a yearly thing, 2 yearly thing, or not decided? Or
We are absolutely looking at doing more Northern Wind type things. Northern Wind really allowed us to explore the world and tell a story that we're excited about. And we are looking at telling more stories, writing more chronicles like that. And yeah, we're absolutely working on the next one, and there's hints at it in the Northern Wind as well, at the next big narrative or co-op experience that we are creating.
okay.
And besides that, we're also looking at creating more games. We have infinite amount of ideas, and it's only a matter of time when and how can we realize that. But yes, we are looking at other games within the Eldfall universe as well.
Okay. And the last thing I guess to talk about with planning is, what about the competitive side of things? Do you want to see a big competitive community, and is that purely tournament based, or do you want it to be with narrative as well, or how do you see that going?
Um, when we say competitive, I cannot see a PvE side of the game being a competitive game. It's more of a fun thing, but it's still very important to us. So
Mm-hmm.
players being engaged in PvE, however, I don't think it lends well to competition.
Okay.
So competitive, I think, will keep within the player versus player. And yes, I would love to see big tournaments around the world. I would love to host a big tournament in Ljubljana in Slovenia. That would be extremely fun. But we also would love to see people engage with player versus environment co-op events as well. So instead of organizing a Saturday tournament, we're organizing an all-day narrative event where we are cooperatively telling a story of our guild tackling a certain dungeon or creating a raid on a boss, reminiscing of big raids from World of Warcraft or other MMORPGs. Um, Bringing the community together, telling a story in larger groups is also something we would love to see, and we are actively working towards.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Now I'm going to go into some fun stuff, because that was all the serious stuff for now.
Yes.
What is your personal favourite mechanic or part of L4 Chronicles as it stands today?
So I'm going to break this down a bit between Skirmish and Northern Wind,
Let's do.
because for Skirmish, it is absolutely mobility. I play war games because I think movement within war games is a never-ending font of player skill expression. I think movement is the reason why certain war gamers are good in a competitive system and nothing else. Games can be won and lost by movement alone, and I love any game that can be done so. So for me, in Eldfall mobility of the game, the movement mechanics are my by far favorite part.
Okay.
In Northern Wind, however, I'm gonna take a bit of a cheating answer and split it into two. I love the event cards, specifically the location events. These are events that are modifying the next quest by attaching hidden rooms or hidden locations and modifying the next quest. which is extremely fun, and it creates an infinite amount of possibilities of how you're gonna get through your adventure. And second one is the synergy cards. Creating your own combos within the team by doing the thing. You need to learn the synergy cards by doing the thing that you are trying to learn on the card. I think creates a very fun mini game with a very satisfying payoff at the end when you actually create your own combo line that all 4 players need to participate in, and then you execute it on a boss and it works flawlessly. It's an amazing feeling.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And your favorite miniature? Only one. Your favorite miniature
Only
in the
one.
range?
Can I split it by looks, mechanics?
You're not good with only one, are you? That's how we can tell you're a wargamer.
No.
Go on then,
Yes.
looks and mechanics, which ones?
Looks, it's Academy Expeditioner. I love the way that model looks. And mechanics, it's Task Mage.
Okay.
I love playing the Task Mage. It's such a fun toolbox of anything and everything you need in a single model. It's amazing to play.
Yeah, I can see that. So which faction do you mostly play then? Or is there one you mostly play?
I play them all consistently and very commonly, but I most enjoy Sand Kingdoms. And it's not particularly close. Yes, I am one of those. Yeah, though lately, or not even lately, I must say I really enjoy the playstyle of Sand Kingdoms without the summoner, without the vizier.
Controversial.
I think you can create. Yes, I think you can really create some extremely fun play patterns within that.
I think all Sand Kingdoms players should pay attention to this and should definitely do that. Not that we hate summoners, we do, but not that we totally hate them. Cool. Awesome. Right. Now, a personal question. How has this journey been for you? Because in the past few years, you've gone from concept to your system being played across the world by hundreds of people. How is that? How does that feel?
It's indescribable. It's amazing. Like there's no two ways about it. I love every minute of it. It's a personal dream come true for each and every one of us in the team. None of us were planning on or looking at a career in this direction. And within Slovenia, it's really hard to have a career in this direction. We don't have a board game industry until we came along. There are a couple of other people in Slovenia who created their own board games and launched them through Kickstarter. We even have some companies besides us now. But when we started, we were alone, the only ones in Slovenia that did that. Not that Slovenians don't like board games. We love them. We play them a lot. But creating something within Slovenia, you immediately need to launch on other markets because we are just too small.
There's only 2 million of you. It's not enough.
So going on this journey and seeing it take off has been a dream come true for all of us, and we are eternally grateful for each and every you who helped us go on this journey and who's helping us keep it going, because we have so many exciting stories and models and art and mechanics to show you and share with you in the future that we want to, but we don't have the capacity yet to do. And we are eternally grateful for you making it possible.
Awesome. That's lovely to hear. And I have to say, like I said at the start, it's ripped through our community and spread like wildfire because such a good game. It's such an enjoyable experience, and it's not just about the hour playtime that it has, 90 minutes in my experience, but it's not just that. It is getting to the end of a game and being fired up to play again. It's that feeling of, can we do that again? I have ideas. I think I can do this better. And it's that feeling that I've not been as excited or fired up for a system in quite some time. So you keep doing what you're doing. We'll keep doing what we're doing. And it's going to be a great thing. It's going to be a great thing.
Yeah.
So last, we shall finish up with some questions from the community. I asked the Discord guys, and I also asked the Dutch community. Everyone had a lot of the same questions. There's a lot of things that people want to know. So with that in mind, the Oni and Goblins that are coming with Northwind, will they be getting their own upgrades and schemes, or are they just using generic?
At the beginning, we are going with only generic. So this is our starting point. However, there might or might not be some monster faction upgrades and schemes at some point in the future.
You are just full of the teasers today, aren't you? That's what you've bought, is a whole bag of. It's great in there, but I'm not showing you.
Yeah. I might have. I might enjoy that part. I'm neither confirming nor denying anything. So.
I see the smile. I see it there. Okay. What are the plans for other creatures like elementals, given the website lists multiple elemental factions as well without any current available models? What are we doing with those?
So the end game here is to have every single element in the game having a box in the style of earthen creatures. So we want to round up 4 tiers of each for creatures. However, how we're gonna do that, it's gonna take a while, because that is a lot of models. We have started filling that roster out by introducing the water elementals, which are synonymous with the earthen elementals and should be their water replacement and cousin. And we're slowly gonna fill out that roster. Might at some point release a full boxes of, let's say, water creatures, and it will have an equivalent amount of mods as the earthen creature box expansion. So yes, the plans are there. A lot of it has already been thought out as well, but we need certain platforms, certain space where we can release that organically, not to force it out.
I can imagine, because I mean, your dance card's pretty full this year with Northwind, and then there's a whole cycle of new miniatures for the existing factions coming. So, and I can imagine. I mean, a random question for me: how far ahead do you guys have roadmapped out for your releases? Is it kind of to the end of the year, the next 2 years, or?
This is something we, as a completely young and inexperienced team, we have just started doing to have a long-term roadmap.
Okay.
So we have plans for the next 3 to 5 years easily.
Oh wow!
How detailed those plans are varies on the project, though.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I can imagine it's also going to depend on how things progress with the system and all the rest of it. So. No plan, last contact with the enemy, etc., etc. So, totally get it. Okay, cool. Are there any plans for more traditional wood elf type races in the system? Because people love wood elves.
Yes.
Oh.
People love wood elves, and yes, there are plans. With slight asterisks, it's gonna have its own Eldfall spin to it.
We'd expect nothing less.
Yes, we are never doing anything generic within our game, anything that doesn't fit inside our world and make sense within the world.
Awesome. And will they, well, I guess it's too early. I was going to say, will they connect with the existing murder elves? But I guess we will see. Because I know I'm not getting an answer to that one. So I'm putting it out there because other people are going to ask it.
You are not getting the answer to that yet. No.
I'm getting the read here now. That's cool. Okay, and the big one, and actually this is something for myself as well. Do you guys have plans for a mobile app for army building? Is that on the horizon? Is that considered?
It is something we have considered. However, sadly, it's currently not feasible for us.
Okay.
Because a mobile app takes a lot of upkeep and we simply don't have the manpower to do that. Okay. So our first priority is to have Guildhall in its best possible iteration, where it supports everything we want to do. It's not there yet. We are working on it and constantly improving it. But while it is something we have on our to-do list, it's simply not feasible yet for us to have a mobile app as well as Guildhall.
And if members of the community were prepared to step up and get involved in that, would that be something you would be happy to support? In theory?
Absolutely.
Outstanding.
In theory, absolutely, yes.
Of course, in theory, yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, well, that's all of the questions that I have for you. That's the whole essay right there. Anything else that you'd like to add to the end? Any other thoughts or bits and pieces I haven't touched on that you think are relevant?
Maybe just to put it out there, we really value the feedback of the community as well, because while we love creating this game for ourselves, in the end, it's nothing if people are not enjoying it. So we love people's feedback. We love the Discord community talking about things, discussing things. And even if we don't always chime in the Discord, be aware we're reading it all. I am making diligent notes, but things will never change overnight. We need time to implement change and we need time to test it out. So yeah, your feedback will help us step along that way.
Outstanding. And no one wants reactionary responses. That doesn't help at all. And while I think about it, the Discord link will be in the description of this video, guys. So if you aren't on there, and you should be, you can find that in the description below. Okay, well, thank you so much for that chat. That was awesome. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Outstanding.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself here.
Okay, good stuff. Well, we will have to do it again as you bring more stuff out. I can get you to bring your bag of mysteries out and you can tease us with more in the coming months. But Samo, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, I can see you enjoying it vastly too much. It's not healthy. But
one of the reasons I became a developer.
Knowing all the things and telling nothing. Fantastic.
Yeah, perks of the job. Perks of the job.
They say power corrupts. There it is, right there. But Simon, thank you so much for your time. And thank you all guys for watching this. I hope you found it interesting. If you have any other questions, any other follow-up thoughts, head to Discord or put it in the comments below. And you know, we'll get it to the team and they can give their thoughts. But do like, share, subscribe, get it out there. Push the word out for Eldfall. More people need to know about this system and more people need to be playing it. If he's got time to be having interviews, then he's clearly not getting enough work from the community. So we need more people to play so he doesn't have time to talk to me. That's basically what it comes down to. I'm now on a mission to break you. Congratulations. But thank you.
Love the challenge.
That's what we like to hear. But thank you so much all for watching. There'll be more L4 coming soon, so look out for that. But yeah, thank you very much. And Samo, goodbye. And bye to everyone else.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Okay then. Bye-bye.